thought we had seen everything. Abandoned hospitals with broken beds still stained from decades ago. Schools where textbooks lay scattered across the floor, covered in dust thick enough to choke you. Entire ghost towns, emptied after disasters or war, their houses frozen midlife as if everyone just vanished. But in the fall of 2018, when our small documentary crew was granted access to an old nuclear power plant in Eastern Europe, we knew this one was different. The government official who met us at the gates looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. His eyes were dark, his hands shook as he lit one cigarette after another. He gave us the key rings with a strange stiffness, like someone handing over something cursed. "Stay out of Reactor 6, he said flatly. His voice cracked, just a little. We asked him what. He just stared at us for a long moment. Then, with a dry throat, he muttered, "Too dangerous. Don't go there. Especially the sublevels." And then he turned and walked away, leaving us standing there in the cold wind with nothing but his warning echoing in our heads. That, of course, was the moment we decided we had to see Reactor 6. The plant was a concrete monster. Tall, gray, windowless blocks connected by endless corridors. Our footsteps echoed as we moved deeper inside, the air thick with the smell of rust, mold, and something faintly chemical, like burnt metal. The locker rooms were like scenes from the apocalypse. Rows of yellow radiation suits hung on hooks, stiff with age, shaped like the empty shells of dead men. Helmets sat crooked on shelves, some with cracked visors. Dust covered everything like snow. At first, it felt like exploring a museum where time had simply stopped. But then, we began noticing things that didn't belong. Fresh footprints in the dust. A candle burned halfway down, its wax still soft. A set of keys lying on the floor, too clean to have been there long. And then we found the locked door at the base of Reactor 6. The chain had already been cut. Inside, a concrete stairwell spiraled down into pure darkness. The air changed immediately. It was heavier, damp, and carried a faint, acrid smell that made the back of my throat sting. The deeper we went, the louder our Geiger counter clicked. Soft at first, like distant rain, then sharper. Halfway down, Mark, our sound guy, held up his hand. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. At first, we thought it was dripping water. But no, it was humming. Low, human-like. A slow, broken melody coming from somewhere deep below. At the bottom, we stepped into a massive underground chamber. The air was humid, heavy with the smell of wet concrete, and something rotten beneath it all. And there it was, a huge pool of water glowing faintly blue, light shimmering across the walls like ghostly waves. The radiation levels spiked immediately, but we stood there frozen, because something moved under the surface. Then it climbed out. It moved wrong. Limbs too long, joints bending slightly off. Its skin was pale, cracked, as if it had been burned and never healed. The eyes were white and cloudy, darting in directions that didn't make sense. When it spoke, its voice was broken, like old tape warping. "Help me." That was enough. We ran, but as we scrambled for the stairs, Mark tripped over something half buried in the dirt. A metal box, rusted but locked tight. He grabbed it instinctively, and we didn't stop running until we were outside under open sky again. Back at the hotel, hands still shaking, we pried the box open. Inside, documents dated 1986, all stamped classified in Russian. Blueprints, lab notes, black and white photographs of people. No, not people. Subjects. The final page was a handwritten report. Subject 12 shows increased aggression. Radiation exposure has altered tissue regeneration. Vision gone. Language partially intact. Attempts to terminate unsuccessful. And below that, lockdown ordered. All personnel evacuated. Remaining test subjects contained underground. That's when it sank in. Whatever we saw down there, it wasn't alone. The next day, we tracked down a man in a nearby village who had worked at the plant decades ago. He refused to talk at first, not until we showed him the documents. His hands trembled as he lit a cigarette. They told us it was medical research, he said quietly. After the accident, some survived. Changed. Not human anymore, but alive. He looked up at us with hollow eyes. They were never supposed to get out. That night, Mark didn't come down for dinner. We found him sitting in his hotel room, pale, sweating, eyes fixed on the window. He swore he'd heard scratching at the glass. We were on the 7th floor. 2 nights later, Mark vanished. Police said he probably left on his own, but in the hallway outside his room, we found his camera. The last video was just shaky footage of his hotel door slowly creaking open. No one on the other side. And faintly, under his breathing, a wet, broken whisper. "Help me." Weeks passed. Then another crew, funded by a European documentary channel, decided to go back. They brought armed guards, better radiation gear, even drones to map the tunnels. They never released their footage. But one guard, months later, spoke anonymously on a forum before his account disappeared. He described hearing footsteps in the tunnels, long after the crew had gone silent. The drones stopped transmitting one by one, cameras showing only quick flashes of movement before going dark. And the last thing he heard, before running for his life, was the same broken humming echoing through the stairwell. 6 months later, the government sealed Reactor 6 completely. Concrete poured into every entrance, every vent, every stairwell. But locals say on certain nights, if you go near the ruins, you can still see a faint blue glow leaking through the cracks in the earth. And if you stand there long enough, you might hear humming, low, human-like, waiting for someone to come back.